whatever milestones that Black people make against hate, it ends up benefiting all the other people of color. I can't see what his end game is. The Republican Party is the party of racism, is the party of white supremacy, is the party of hate. This is wrong, and it needs to stop.
Everybody wants to go back and drag that piece of history up, but they don't want to go back and deal with what their ancestors did to the indigenous people and to Black people in this country. You got to go. And you got billionaires talking about going to space, and Jeff Bezos, go! Never come back. I hope you get lost. This man has lost his mind.
Boom! Come on, girlfriend! What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I host the only online conversation in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We're broadcasting, I think it's July 9th. Is it? Yeah, July 9th. We haven't been around for a bit on the Saturday Night Live, the other Saturday Night Live. We're the other Saturday Night Live. We didn't broadcast on State of Things with Aisha and Joe. It was Canada Day on July 1st in Canada, and July 4th was 4th of July, Independence Day in the US. And for those who had their head in the sand, yesterday, at least half the Canadian population that had access to internet had no access to internet. We had a day without any internet service yesterday, and it was quite interesting. But you know what? I prayed that we would have tonight states of things happening, and it's happening. So for those who don't know, you're going to know in a few minutes, because we have two fantastic ladies and two fantastic mothers, and I gave them flowers before we went live saying they're fantastic mothers. So respect the wonderful mothers of Aisha K. Staggers and Jill D. Jones. What's going on?
Hey.
Jill, you got yourself on mute.
Such a nice greeting.
Yeah, well, you both of you are worthy and deserving of it. What's been going on? Uh-oh.
Just another week in America, you know.
Oh my goodness.
It's like, take another, what next? I mean, from 1 minute to by minute, it just changes. I just heard that crazy kook is in Alaska giving a rally. I was like, what? Trump? It's like, it just doesn't stop. It's like, oh my God. It just.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, because I was watching a little bit of TV today, and there's some documentary series coming out on Discovery Plus about his family.
Oh, really? That's the one that has been of interest to the January 6th committee.
Yes,
that's the director.
I just got rid of my subscription.
But the director has since, I think he's changed some since the January 6th committee has been into it, because a lot of the people that he's now interviewed for it are left-leaning people. I mean, he has the footage of the Trumps, but then he has some people that you're very familiar with from MSNBC and CNN in politics talking about how insane all of this really is.
Wow.
I've seen clips, and I was just like, oh, that it is the same. The extended clip, the trailer for it has those people in it. And so it's, you can tell it's going to be something different than what it would have been had this not been such of interest to the January 6th committee.
But I mean, he did the checks and balances. He couldn't, it's like Fox lies so much, you could never use it as a credible source for anything. Right. I mean, ever. Like, only a stupid person would ever hold that. Yeah. Because if you even notice how they speak about things, it's spoken even in the concept of where you couldn't even pin it down and hold them to what they're saying, because it's all scripted, really pseudo. They're lying all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And the people.
The one that shows that Laura Ingraham's brother did the interview that said that they grew up with a Nazi sympathizing dad. And that she sympathized with her father, probably because she was having sex with her father. They think there was some molestation.
Ouch.
But it would make sense why she leans more into the Nazi. You know, she's the one who gave the Sig Heil in a really passive aggressive way after Trump won. And you'll see her standing there. So yeah, she and her dad had another daddy issues. That's why she related to Trump and Ivanka's relationship so well.
Got it. Well,
yeah, but this
pretty obvious there was trauma and molestation there.
This film's going to be interesting though, because when you watch the clip, you see some people I can't remember if it wasn't so much Gene Haskins. I can't remember who it was that sat there and said, it's worse than you thought. You know, that's the part that really gets you, is that when you hear people say it's worse than you thought, and what we thought was already really bad. Wow. So I can only imagine the things that committee has seen that we haven't. But yeah, folks,
and that we're not going to see, right?
Right. It's worse than what we think.
Okay, well, let's get into it. Want to say hello to some friends as always. Good evening, Jen. Hope you're well. And people, if I sound a little different, yes, I have a head cold, so I'm pushing through. So periodically, if you're watching me, see myself put myself on mute just to conserve. But as I said, I didn't want to miss this evening, so let's make it happen. So first conversation piece, and there's so many because we haven't been live for 2 weeks now. Let's start off with this video of Jayland Walker shooting leads questions outrage in Akron. Who wants to start on this one?
Well, I have a question for you. You were in Akron. Well, you were in Ohio.
Yes.
What was the climate there?
I was in Cleveland and I didn't hear too much, but like, I'm just going like, and I got to be honest, I was a little concerned about going to the US. And then when I see something like that happening, it's not close, but in the same state that I'm in on the 4th of July, I'm going, it really hit. What's going on?
Yeah. I mean, it's really touching a lot of different areas. Like right here, Ben Crump was actually in New Haven last week because there's a case out of here from local police officers and someone that was arrested being shaken in the truck, kind of like a Freddie Gray kind of thing. And so you can see like the Jayland Walker came up and you could see people protesting locally here. I wonder how, I've seen videos, but I wonder how it's playing throughout the country.
Well, they arrested Breonna Taylor's aunt in Ohio,
which is
and Blake, Jacob Blake, or his relative as well.
Yeah, so his father.
The thing is, and they lied and said that they were rioting and all this other stuff. And we saw the video, and I'm just sick of it. Ohio is a shithole. End of story. It's another one, and it should really go in the bucket for a long time because it is actively acting out things. They just told everybody they can walk around with guns there. And now they're making up things that people are trying to, it's no wonder that young Black kids now don't really want to Bonnie and Clyde it out of this bitch, because the reality is, what are you doing to our kids? Yeah. You guys are torturing our children. You're torturing them. And you're worried and going to make up things about them in a car chase. I live in a state where there's a car chase every hour and it's televised. What a bunch of fucking wimps. We've discovered Texas, as badass as they think and try to pretend that they are. They're too afraid to go and confront a guy with an assault weapon with a bunch of little kids, even at that. And then we find out about the bunch of wimps in Akron who, I mean, it's like ridiculous. Take them off the payroll. We'd rather be on our own. I got all these horrible threats because I posted about Jayland Walker on my Facebook account. I had a bunch of hillbillies from Akron confronting me and saying that they hope that I experience blah, 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 and whatever. And I'm like, really? I really don't care. You are nothing to me. You are a zero. I don't think much of you to begin with. So why would you think that anything you say to me is going to make me warm up to you? I don't care.
You say that as someone from Ohio.
Huh?
You say that as someone from Ohio.
Yeah, as someone from Ohio. It's like, I'm done. This was everything that I hated about Ohio. Talk about a group of white people that are so out of touch and how they all pat themselves on the back that they're so together and they know it all. They don't know shit. You know, I was looking at a movie today, an old movie, and I talked to a friend of mine. I said, isn't it interesting how white people always played themselves like they were on the good side of everything in the war, like it was a war movie. It was after like World War II. Really? You're now going to try to convince me that those rednecks that you guys drafted to go into World War II actually killed anybody who was German without crying over it? And then they come back for what? I don't buy any of it. That's crap. That's not even true. Well, I don't believe it anymore. I don't believe anything they tell us because, you know, the Confederacy and that belief system, it's too easily, you know, started back up and got the band back together. So in my mind, I'm not saying there weren't vets from that day and age, but they're racists. And how so twisted minds going in and asking them to kill, like, you know, Mussolini and all of these things. I think it was actually too much for them to even understand what they were doing. But then you watch a movie about all these concepts of freedom and peace, love, and happiness. And white people always portray themselves as if they were so on the right side of history. And now we really look at it and go, no, actually, 75 million of you in America aren't. 75 million of you in 2022 voted for Donald Trump. You dumb dicks. Seriously. What? That's crazy. You know, there's an article that I just read that said by 2040, only 8 states in America will have 50% of America's population. And that is going, and the other minorities will be dispersed in the electoral area. You cannot say that shit doesn't need to be changed then. These are people who are projecting this. They see it happening. They see the migratory patterns happening. So 50%, over 50 are going to live in Texas, California, New York, North Carolina was one of them. I think there were, you know, of course, 4 more. But the reality is they got to fix this. The country's in dire straits, but it ain't out of the woods yet.
I think
the sick place.
I think the sad part about this shooting comes in the after. I mean, the shooting itself obviously was sad. The video itself obviously was sad, but the aftermath, what happens a few days later, in that they said they fired over 100 shots, 60 plus hit him, but then you have this young man who fires 70 plus shots in a crowd of people, and he is taken away peacefully. He doesn't end up shot or anything. Wait a second. He just killed 7 people, injured more than 30, and you take him peacefully.
The one who looked like a deformed Winona Ryder? Who shot up people on
we'll get to that in a minute. Let's stick on the
but that's the sad part. It's like there's nothing that Jayland Walker did that warranted the amount of shots fired at him. They were so bold, but it's like they see this other kid, oh, this could be my son, so I'm not going to shoot. And it is a problem.
We've been talking about these sort of situations ever since the first time we've come on here. Why hasn't there been any progress in policing let me put it this way. Yes, there probably has been some progress, but where is the missing gap when it comes to policing?
You can't out police racism.
Okay.
That is it. It doesn't matter what the training is. It doesn't matter what any of it is. You can't out police people's. I mean, you can't. People cannot get past their racism, their stereotypes, their widely held beliefs, no matter how twisted they are. They can't get past it. So you can have the best training, whatever, but if your personal feelings and beliefs are still entering the building, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter all the changes we try to make to policing. You can't get over people's ideals. And remember that policing becomes that profession that attracts a lot of young white males who feel otherwise emasculated in other areas of their lives. They feel that they have this sense of authority when they get that job. And these are the ones typically who are too afraid to go into the military at that. So you're dealing with a whole bunch of issues, and that people are bringing from outside the job into the job, and it's catastrophic.
Jill, anything you want to add?
No, because I totally agree with what she said. I think we do know that the Ku Klux Klan have been tearing through a new rebranding for the last since the 60s.
Can I just interrupt? Did you see the tweet by what's his name, David Allen Greer?
Yes,
of the protesters in Boston.
Yes, it was fantastic.
And he said the new Klan.
They've been rebranding, and they've been putting people in positions to work and hired and all of that, because you have to remember when we were busting them up and going undercover, we were putting more African American males and women, females in law enforcement. So what they did is, over a period of time, sort of demonize Black people again, and start, becoming more cliquish in these departments, in the blue line, the thin blue line. And there was some kind of weird indoctrination behind that. And then the hiring started, and the academies and all of that just started slipping off, because also they've made sure that for at least a good 20 years, once they gave young Black men and women a felon label on their lives, they could write them off, and they were like done. They could never get anything. So that's how they got rid and kept Black people out of government positions and a lot of things. But it's a new day dawning, and everybody needs to pay attention to what's going on in Sri Lanka. Because let me tell you something, I've been saying it for a long time. That will be here, and it will make, if white people keep pushing us, it will make that insurrection look like a goddamn tea party. Because you cannot do what you continue to keep doing to people.
But remember what the tea party in this country looks like.
But I'm saying that looks like, that will look like nothing, because after the last shooting for July 4th and all of that, people are up to here. And it's only if you read enough Malcolm Gladwell, who is one of my favorites, there is a tipping point, and the cream is rising up.
Yeah. I think the tipping point, though, too, really was the fact, and we're going to get to it, but it was the fact that this happened on a so-called day that the Patriots come out, and that ended up being the tipping point. But as far as the Jayland Walker shooting, how we'll see this play out is going to be interesting. Are they going to charge people? Will these people be convicted? We're just now seeing some of the things come out of the federal case for the George Floyd shooting, where Chauvin got 22 and a half years on the federal side. So when his sentence is up in the state side, he will end up going toward to federal prison for the next 22 and a half years with no no parole, and it will be, he's spending the rest of his life there. But
he's done.
Look what had to happen in order for us to get to that point. The protests that had to happen, because otherwise, had there not been those protests that lasted almost 2 years, there would not have been any kind of conviction, I don't think. I think that there would have been something minor. It's to the point right now where one of the officers involved just pled guilty on the state trial. So I think that there's going to be the outcome of this will be the interesting part. And will we also have this kind of sustained level of
Uh-oh. I think she's frozen.
I think she is frozen. No problem. We will.
Know.
That's all right. So just a little filler. Hopefully we'll get Aisha back in a second. So while I was in the USA, someone started talking about your favorite attorney general. Oh. Ah! And it was almost mirror of what you were saying. He went in on him like, wow. I said, do you know Jill Jones? He goes, really? Who that? But no.
I think that we're getting to the point why I keep talking about a tipping point, because I think it's important to understand that we have to really address the complicity of the church and racism in America. And then once you open up that spider web and where all those tentacles are, you will discover they're in law enforcement, they're in your schools, they're everywhere. And that is the indoctrination in this country. So you're dealing with years and years of what they've done to people in their belief systems and the fear that they've provoked over Black men and women and what people are afraid of. And not only that, the propaganda, the means of producing television shows with certain concepts and scripts. This has been a long time coming. I mean, you have to sometimes sit back and look at the shows that boomers grew up with, or the silent generation. What were they watching? Those things don't leave you. But it's really, they were all, productions don't just come about because people who have money invest in productions and actors and musicians and all of that. It's propaganda if it's not a free society. And I think what we've really found out is it's not a free society. It never has been.
No, it hasn't.
They really do allow people to squeak through, and they pick and choose who they want. It's like, I watched a funny thing, like Prince was giving an interview and he said there was a time with our music, like with the Marvin Gayes, or people would say things like, what happened to the Bob Dylans and what happened to all of that? That was a time when people actually were communicating with each other through their music and telling each other what was happening and how they wanted to be and project themselves. But corporate America got involved and killed it. They killed that. They don't want us talking. They don't want edifying music. They don't want any of that. They do not want it.
The Matrix. Come on now.
Yeah, it's
the Matrix. It's the Matrix. Well, hopefully we'll get Aisha back, but we'll move on to the next conversation topic, which happened on July 4th, the Hyde Park mass shooting on July 4th. And the funny thing I find about this is that...
Oh, she said they have a blackout.
Oh, okay. So we may not have Aisha for a while. So it's going to be myself and Jill D doing our thing. It's all right. We've had to do it before. So as that old song by the Staple Singers, let's do it again.
I know, right?
Great song. But yeah, the thing I notice about this, I don't hear so much about gun stuff. Like people saying outlawing guns, like it's a weird story because he had a history of threats in the past.
They go into always using the mental illness thing. I mean, he looked weird. It's not, this is the problem in America. And it's like, it always touches the symptom of something. I was watching an African elder speak about medicine, and he was saying that America is the butcher. It's the great butcher, because basically it's not trying to cure anything. It just doesn't. There were treatments that came from tribes and different things that were set and designed to cure people and cure habits. And normally all of it required changing your diet, first of all, but not in America. People can still do what they want, live the way they want, and they will still have these crazy issues with their health. It basically, so what they're saying about the masses and America, it's not designed to cure anything. It's everything's got to be a problem, because everything is a revenue center. Everything. So when you have a setup that way of capitalism, everything is considered potential revenue. So that's the problem where we are. And the country has sacrificed that, and people are now okay with it. They seem to be, because let's be honest, the mental health of our nation, look at the food people eat. Maybe by vitamin B alone.
Jill, interesting. One of my closest friends, during the lack of cell phone service yesterday, him and his wife watched documentaries about homelessness in different cities around the world. And he actually watched a documentary of the homelessness in California.
I know.
And he was telling me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but he was saying there's 150,000 homeless people in California.
Well, yeah, but we can thank a lot of conservative governors keep sending their people on buses here.
Wow.
They buy them tickets and send them here.
Wow.
So Abbott, we know that Governor Abbott sent a bunch to Delaware, I believe, recently. So yeah, that's the oldest trick in the book. Governor Newsom built a lot of houses for veterans and tiny houses. The really interesting thing is we have a lot of people who can't even stay in their houses anymore. They've been on the street so long. They don't know what that's like. But my belief system is America always wants to scratch the surface of something, but the real reality is like a good diet can change and prevent mental health problems. Just that alone. We don't feed our children. We had remember, don't forget, we had Republicans arguing not to feed children in school. So they're okay with that, and the mental health that creates from food deficiencies. These are the monsters that actually get to go home and get $175,000 a year salary, and then plus all the stuff they pocket on the side for every law that they pass, because all the senators and all the Congress people tend to do that.
Let's go. Well, Aisha's back. Amen.
Yeah, I had to join on my phone because my laptop, when the lights and everything came back on, decided it's going to go into update mode.
Yeah. Okay. We're just catching up on the Highland Park mass shooting, and I was just saying that I'm not hearing too much about restrictive gun laws and things about this. So it just seems like, yeah, okay.
Well, you got to remember they're not going to do it, one, because it's just not politically expedient for Republicans to do it. But two, remember, the other gun law was just signed by Joe Biden, the day before or 2 days before.
And it shows that it doesn't work.
And so it's one of those things where, well, the thing is that they haven't even had a chance to have it work before everything that's in that bill became obsolete. Once this shooting came out, and then you hear the details of it, that his father brought him the gun when it was determined that he wasn't well enough to get it on his own. There were the signs, and here's the bottom line. We can't say it's mental health. We can't say it's this, it's that, even if we put the gun laws, if we have people skirting the law. It doesn't matter what laws you put in place when people are going to skirt them. So even if they put all these provisions that are in that particular bill in place, there are still people that are like this kid's father who are going to buy their wayward children guns anyway.
Well, we also knew from looking at his mother, who was arguing with the cops after this happened. I knew immediately from that low sloped forehead and her mouth designed to eat vermin that we were dealing with a special case and there was no hope.
Joe, why did you go there?
It's the truth. I mean, looking at, if I had to eat cereal every morning across from that family, I would have been like, what the holy fuck?
I thought the kid was an anime drawing. When I saw the picture, I thought it was like an anime drawing because it just didn't look real.
No, it was like the chin, it was really, there's a problem. And
it felt like part of his face was missing. Like below the jaw. Like his face had stopped right here.
I agree.
I was wondering if he was going to be taken alive or not.
He was.
He dressed and looked like Winona Ryder coming down, from like freaking Stranger Things. I don't know what we were supposed to do. I mean, he really pulled that old Joker thing, like the Joker, that was in that movie where the one dressed as a nurse.
Right. He was dressed up though. They were like, he had on a wig and he had on a dress when he did the shooting. When he left, he walked right through the crowd because everybody thought that he was trying to get away like the rest of them, because he took off the wig and he took off the dress and himself. And that's how he was able to run.
I haven't gone too deep in regards to the coverage of this, but what are the citizens of that city saying? Are they saying there should be stricter gun laws? I'm not hearing any of this.
I don't think the media is talking about it.
Well, some of the ones that I've heard have been saying, this is too much. What are we going to do about it? Now, because it's them.
It's going to get swept under the rug, just like Uvalde. They're on to the next one. It's never going to change.
I think the Uvalde one and the Buffalo one had a longer life in the news, specifically because of how those happened. This one here, people have seen this before. This is akin to the Gabby Giffords shooting because she was at some kind of fair or whatever in a grocery market. They've had this before, but the people that they've interviewed so far have said not so much. Can't believe this is happening to us, but we kind of expected it. That was what I got from the people that were interviewed.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you expect to see a 2-year-old that has, been orphaned by both parents, or a girl running with her mother who gets shot in the chest, and we find it normal. I blame American people, citizens. Each and every one of us are guilty. The fact that we don't do anything about it. It's really the truth. I don't even know what to say anymore. But I can tell you that I think Europe and all the other civilized countries that are experiencing some kind of blowback from this fucking disgusting lifestyle that we're leading here are at some point going to have to call out America for its human rights violations.
I think
they're going to have to sanction us, because it's really the only way that we need to beg other rational countries who, they're not trying to arm their citizens or I mean, we'll talk about Japan later, but that's the influence of America. And with the internet now, other countries should beware. They should be aware that this sickness is not catching. It might be more catching than COVID. And they need to pay attention and start putting more restrictions on the platforms and privacy things if they don't want their countries to be like ours.
But for me, I think that getting to the point where people, particularly in the suburbs, are saying, what's next? I think they're finally seeing the way that people who have grown up or lived in inner cities feel all the time, because we've been down that road already. We've been past it's a surprise, the shooting, it's a surprise. It hasn't been a surprise. It's just
I think for many people, a surprise of it happening where it's happening. We've been a society that's been comfortable with shootings being relegated to certain populations in certain areas of the country. And now there is no prediction of where this gun violence will happen. You can't say a specific place and time of where it will happen now because it is so common.
But there are solutions. Like a parade like that, you should have some kind of special stamp, some kind of special something that gets you into it. It should be surrounded. It should be,
but remember, areas
should be sectioned off, like in the Hunger Games, the way people live in America. It should be like that now. We should have areas, pockets that are totally surrounded by military. And when you come in and out, like in Palestine, you should have to register and sign in. I don't believe anymore. I don't think you should walk into a supermarket with your phone talking to anybody. You should know what you're getting. Get in, get the hell out. This is the way I live. I feel like every city in your vicinity, in your state, should corner it off at its borders of its own city. And people should have to have permission to come in and out.
And that way of living is the reason why you'll have people on the right, particularly, complaining about their freedoms.
But that's like, okay. We don't.
We're free to play. We should, we're free to, we should. That's not living.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but it's either that or us. There's got to be. You can't have it both ways.
At this point, we're looking for preservation.
Everybody's a sitting duck. It's like Russian roulette. You might as well come home, spin a gun around, and just shoot yourself, I guess, at some point to determine if, I made it today. It's Russian roulette when you live in America, period. And your kids too. That's the reality. Bang, bang. It's over, because that's what this country has become. And we should just treat it as such, of what it is. It's a dystopian existence, and it's ravaging the morale and the hearts and the minds of everyone who lives here. Has anxiety. If anything, meds and the increase of meds has gone up. And then they don't even want to give you anything for that. You can't even get health insurance. At this point, it's no wonder there are people that take fentanyl and just want to die. I get the drug epidemic. I totally understand it. It makes when people have a reason to live, they don't do what they're doing. Happy people do not act like American people.
And the other thing about this shooting that was, I think, really sad was the revelation that a lot of those parents got, that their kids knew what to do in the event of a mass shooter, and the parents were just surprised and stunned. Like, how do you know this? How do you not talk to your kids? Mm-hmm. How do you not ask your kids, hey, how are you feeling about having? When my daughter was in school, I asked her about it.
But housewives don't know. They aren't giving updates at what the new thing is. Every time somebody's on TV, they're like, I hid in the closet. Stop saying where you hid. The next shooter will know where to go look. Stop saying you put bodies on top of you to hide from them, because the next shooter is just going to shoot at everybody a couple times on the ground. Stop telling everybody, to get your moment on fucking TV. This is that's the other thing. Loose lips sink ships. But like I said, happy people don't behave the way most American people do. It's a real, every European person I know is trying so hard to never have to come here again. Work-wise, everything. They don't care. They don't care about touring. They don't want it.
Wow. That's not a good sign for the future of the country.
No. Particularly if by 2040, you're looking at half of the country being controlled by those morons and setting the tone for the minority, setting the tone for the majority. And that's why would you want to live here? I mean, I'm telling people now, if you have children, you need to consider this. These are people who are like, planners of cities and structures and doing budgetary things. They see what's coming. Sociologists, they see what's happening. And investors, if they're not willing to invest in that, why would you? Start learning different languages. Get the hell out of here and make a life elsewhere, because it's not going to be tenable. Unless you want the crew from Deliverance telling you how to live your life, or the Christian Taliban. It's really not too far off. It's like The Color of Compromise was a book about, how Christianity was such a link to racism in America, particularly. And they've had a vision. What do you think these Bible thumpers have been doing all this time? You think a jet was enough? No, there's more to that. You've given these people all this money, so at a certain point, it becomes just power alone is what they want. And that's dangerous. We saw what they did during the witch burnings of Salem. We saw what they did during in Spain, Inquisitions. Those are the same mindsets of people who have a very weird God that they worship. Strange. Their God is as egotistical as they are.
The list of places that we just can't go and feel safe has gotten smaller. I mean, think of it. There are more places where you can't go where you are safe.
Check the exits when you go in. Don't wear high heels. Keep a pair of spare shoes in your car. Yeah, there's all sorts of things.
But the thing is, not even that. You can't even leave home you can't even be at home and be safe without eating ice cream on your couch without worry that a police officer or somebody's going to storm in your house and shoot you up.
That too.
So,
like I said, learn new languages, get some education, find other options of places to live.
So before we move on to the next conversation topic, it makes me ask this question, ladies. Is America under siege?
It's done.
We've been under siege. It's like, I think
since Barack Obama, it's a dead place.
Yeah, people are slowly waking up to us being under siege. I think that people are slowly coming to, because remember, it's always been, it's okay as long as it doesn't happen here. And then once it starts happening in places that look like here, a lot, then it has become a problem. When it was not in places that were, it can't happen here places, that's when the problem should have been taken care of, and it wasn't.
And now what we have learned is they were livid when Barack Obama became president. And I'm also starting to feel like the relationship that Barack Obama had to forge with Biden was such a political one in trying to appease them. I'm not even that so sure that he was really on the same page as President Obama, as much as he was the white overseer that could be the glue to sort of bridge between the white extremists who really, really still existed. Because I'm less than happy with what Biden's choices are. It's still a little Jim Crow favoring to me, and I don't know. There's something weird about him. Yeah,
he brought the Middle America vote for the Obama campaign. That's what they knew was his value to the campaign in 2008, and that is why he was selected compared to all the other people who were in the running, like Hillary Clinton for vice president. So he had a purpose for that campaign, and he served his purpose in terms of appealing to those old America, Mayberry living people, the Andy Griffiths of the world.
But he was not the one we needed for now, this time. I mean,
but that was you got to remember too, that was also pre-Tea Party, which eventually someone will start looking into the fundamentals of the Tea Party as to how we got where we are now, because that's
Aisha, just with all due respect, and I'm glad you brought that up, because then as white as that man is, and as many friends as he's had come and go in this political game, how the hell am I supposed to actually believe that he didn't know what was going on in the underbelly? Because I'm sure they invited him to their clubs and their meetings too, just because. And so on that strength alone, I have a hard time biting off everything that he's trying to sell me. And yes, he's the best of what we've got, but I'm really pissed off with that North Carolina Jim Clyburn. He needed to stay the fuck out of it. He and those old people. And young people need to get out there and vote. And I'm not talking about voting for this was just off the chain how they set that up again. It's too much for me. And that whole who's running the DNC, he ain't the one either. We need somebody with their ear to the ground. Jamie, whatever his name is, he's not the one. Giving money to the wrong candidates. It's not cool. And it's really disgusting. They put in people that they can control. Joe Biden knew that this racist shit was going on.
All right, so let's go ahead. Go ahead, Aisha. Go ahead.
The challenge, though, ends up being, what do we do next?
Yeah,
there are other organizations like Run for Something, Emily's List, that also, run Democratic candidates. They need the support of people. People need to start looking at. They also run Democrats, but they run specific Democrats. Like Emily's List is pro-choice Democratic women. That is their niche. And Run for Something are focusing on candidates under 40. So I think that as people delve more into this issue, starting to look elsewhere for solutions, political solutions, is going to be the start of how we get this gun thing under control.
All right, let's move forward here. We're going to just catch up on some comments. Jen says, Jill, you are 100% correct about the church. The Catholic Church is at the heart of much evil. That's her opinion. Regina Frizz, happy early birthday, Jill.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And Dr. Tachi, haven't heard from you in a minute. Welcome to Dr. Tachi, host of Mediascope on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Instagram Live, and then on a number of different platforms, 6 p.m. Eastern Time Wednesdays for YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., etc. And I think they're even on in the Caribbean islands too. So this is good. Cinnamon Canala says, I overhear a conversation between two moms. One was going to leave the USA to Africa for a mission trip 2 years. The other was telling how she could do that. Africa is dangerous, a dangerous area. People get killed for no reason. And so I had to interview and ask both of them, let's look at the latest school shooting. So it's interesting how Americans look at other places of the world saying it's so violent, but wow. And then
so out of touch.
So Cinnamon kind of goes, yeah, they both got silent when she intervened and said, look what's going on in America, and they both got silent. So lots of things going down. Next conversation.
People are always afraid of the African man or woman. And, they have no concept. This week, I posted something from like a page on Instagram called African Germany. And they posted like sort of like African uncles at a party, and they were all dancing. And somebody had noted that they were like Masons. I love it.
Cool.
Yeah, it's so cool.
So cool.
And I looked at that and I said, that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of seeing our people in power, in their regality, all of it. They don't like it. And they always, have a problem with it. And that, those days need to come to a close.
Okay. And look who's back. I came back home from a wonderful trip back to the American BS. Sick of all
Portugal.
of this. Yes, Laura, loved your pictures, and it looked like you had a fantastic time. Hopefully you'll be back with us sooner rather than later, but I'm glad you had a great trip. Really enjoyed the pictures. Sound like you had a great, looks like you had a great time.
It looks like she did. They did. Yeah.
So fantastic. Next conversation piece. Georgia election probe. My gosh, Georgia seems to be a battleground every other day.
Yeah.
What's going on in Georgia now?
Well,
I mean, I gotta say, I admire that district attorney. She was like, she's a, she just did what the law required her to do. She's doing her job. Wish Merrick Garland would get on the ball like she is, because she's just like, you know what? You commit a crime in my jurisdiction, you get investigated for a crime. And then, but my favorite part was when she was saying how, yeah, she gets a lot of hate, a lot of racism, and her response to it is like, you're telling me you're calling me a black bitch or whatever. She's like, I know I'm black. What's the point? That's her comeback. She's like, you're telling me something I already know and I'm proud of who I am, and this is going on. Like she said, you commit a crime in my jurisdiction, I'm investigating the crime. And so she's leaving all doors open. Like they said to her, will you consider subpoenaing Trump? And she said, anything is possible. And I just like the fact that the interviewer from MSNBC that talked with her the other day was like, well, Lindsey Graham said he's going to fight this. And she's like, okay. Remember, she's in Congress and all those other cases, like the Mueller probe and all that, because she's prosecuting a criminal case. She is a criminal prosecutor. So there was a crime that was committed. And this is really the first acknowledgement of it being a crime, of the election interference being a crime and being investigated as such.
Well, just to catch up before Jill chimes in about the Georgia stuff, Dr. Tachi, some people despise African joy.
I know.
And Laura says, as soon as I got off the plane, I immediately saw a Confederate flag. God. I just wanted to reboard and go back.
Of course.
And then she says, it was a beautiful trip. Thank you. What would you, man, coming off a plane, it's one of the first things you see is a Confederate flag. Wow.
There's just stupid people in America. And there's more and more than we know. There were 76 million of them. And that is not much. I mean, there were only 80 million who voted for Biden. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's quite a fair amount of people who are on board with the racism here.
What do you think? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about the Georgia probe, Jill?
I just want to see them all fall down. I'm just waiting. I like that it's happening. I don't even need to hear all the stuff anymore about how they're going to do it. I just want it done. And then I want to see them all laid out on the street in body bags. Like I'm really over the fact with Giuliani. He's still able to milk the system and crying and moaning, and he's being attacked. I don't want to hear about it. I don't care anymore. And I just want them to arrest them.
Yeah. Lindsey Graham is fidgeting in his seat just the fact alone that he knows this is serious.
He's still paying fealty. You're right. $500,000 he gave to Trump, right?
And remember, he's an attorney. Lindsey Graham was a JAG attorney. So he knows exactly what's wrong, what's not, what's illegal, and what's not. And he knows that he committed a crime, because if his first inclination was to say he's got to have his attorney fight it, then he's trying to kick the ball down the road. And this district attorney doesn't seem like she's for that. Remember, she's only been in since January? And she's already gotten a grand jury together. Mm-hmm. And the grand jury remember, it's not so much that she's trying to bring them in for the case. The grand jury specifically asked to hear from them.
True.
Well, this is going to be quite the developing story, and it'll just flow right into the midterms. I think it's going to be, the midterms is getting more and more interesting with all the stuff that's going to be happening around the midterms.
Well, it's so weird because
I was going to say Herschel Walker should probably drop out now, because
he should.
The way that she's going after people, his campaign people are already talking about how they don't trust him. So
If he wants to keep running this election, he can, but just know that homegirl's going to come after him.
Yeah, and she said there will be some of Trump's people that are all going to get subpoenas. She said that.
And she mentioned people who are running.
I'll tell you where there's some really weirdness going on. It's in Arizona with that Carrie Lake woman who looks like her mama stepped out on her daddy somewhere in the middle. She don't look like any of her brothers and sisters. There's like 9 of them, and she's the weird one. I don't know. They're supposed to be Italian, but it looks like that's always the default, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, and keep your eyes on Arizona. As a matter of fact, keep your eyes on Arizona Supreme Court.
Crazy.
They are about to rule on something that has to do with the elections there. So keep your eyes on that, and it's something that could change everything.
Right. So true. Yeah, it's very QAnon. They're very weird over there, and they're doing some really dark things on the conservative side. But like I said, we know that Arizona's strange. It's full of weird transplants. That's where that old dino cinema is from. And she better enjoy her last couple of years there, because I know they're going to get rid of her thing. But I just don't think that Arizona people seem to be intelligent enough with their voting. They fell for it once, they'll fall for it again. There's something really maybe it's because only old people go there to retire and they're just, having memory issues or something, but it's really bad. Like they really should, they're voting for some real dogs.
All right. Laura saying those dominoes need to fall.
They do.
All right. All right. So let's continue on. Going on a nice pace here. Next conversation. Bojo. Bojo's gone in England. Boris Johnson resigns, but will stay on until new leader is chosen.
He took the Nixon way out, really. I mean, but when you think about it, though, it shows how blaringly dysfunctional the United States is. It's like Boris's people, after a while, started saying, "Hey, hold up. He's a little too far out there from where we want to go. Let's pull him back." And then he had the dignity enough to not want to further shame his party, so he was right. That's what they did with Nixon in '72.
Exactly. And I think it's a very interesting example of American politicians should be looking at the mirror and saying, because was it 60 representatives and ministers resigned?
Yes, they left him in the dust.
Yes.
That so. Now but you also have to understand this is the other, sorry to interrupt, but a lot of the ministers and those people, they're already rich before they go in. They're not like, we have poor people here or people that, like Ted Cruz and them, who finally get in and they never want to let go of it because they come from they're not in peerage. Like some of these people are lords and ladies and stuff and in politics in England, and they're in peerage. They're in the books. And I mean, they're considered in a certain class from the get-go. They go to those schools not because their parents struggled and saved every dime to get them in. It was all about, you're of this fiber, you're of this, you're of that. So for them, and then
in America, you have Lauren Boebert.
Right. And then so anybody here from the Dust Bowl can suddenly be in there. And that's fine. There's a good side to it. But Lauren Boebert and our First Lady, I mean, it's amazing. But, they're the equivalent of the happy hooker. They should just write books like we had. What was her name? She wrote for Cosmopolitan. I mean, this is the level where we are. But it's very different than there are across the pond. So they're a little more. The interesting thing is that people don't think that he'll be sitting there until September. They're antsy. The Brits want him out. There's a possibility we'll see a truck pull up any day and some folks jump out and say, "Bitch, we're going to help you pack and get you gone," because they want him gone. And just his vibe alone is something that they're not sure that they're going to allow. You know how they are.
Well, they're also concerned about the future of their party, right? Because they see
they've seen the example of what happens to the party.
They don't want him to do more damage while he gets to stay.
And not only that, but there's a bunch of undignified people in the Republican Party in the United States. And the one thing about the Brits that you have to keep in mind is that dignity is like first on top of everything. They do not want to come off as being like those raunchy Americans, those dirty raunchy Americans.
Yeah.
So they hold their party in higher esteem. Donald Trump, he took the dregs of society, dug them up, and brought them to the top. And that's the problem. And then when he did that, there were more of them than there were quote unquote respectable Republicans. And they just took everything.
So just to catch up here, Laura says Arizona is going to see some serious alarming things. It's going to be nasty. Just when we think they can't go lower, they dig deeper. She says, "Whoa, I missed the Boris news." And then Dr. Tachi says, "Indeed, and when you have all going for you, you're reluctant to let go of power."
Sure,
of course,
but he messed up on a lot of things.
He's already got his money in a shell company somewhere, and he's fine. Boris Johnson, all these people, they, like I said, they come from money, and they're from the kind of money that would never even think that Donald Trump had a long enough lineage with money in his family. He'd still be considered new money. So that's a whole different, that's like them, that whole day they were all laughing at Ivanka Trump in the middle of a meeting when they were all standing at a G7. These people also have, it's just different. It's really different. I think that after what happened with Brexit, I think the damage was done. I think that there's also something else that Boris probably doesn't want to come out. And this was the happier medium, because I believe that for sure there's a little bit of pressure. Let's not forget England, they would be taken out. They still actually have an effective intelligence group that does stuff, unlike our CIA and stuff, which seems it doesn't exist anymore. I mean, we're not as badass as we once thought, as I thought we were. Clearly.
But remember, Donald Trump also diminished the capacity and the ability.
He did. He totally did.
Because remember, their thing was intelligence and information, and he did not want any intelligence and information on himself. Now, about
MI6 and MI5, it's like, they still carry some weight. No matter how WikiLeaks and everything tried to really, they kept their head in the middle of all chaos.
And the thing with Boris Johnson is that I can't remember what reporter did it, but they drew strong parallels with Donald Trump. But remember, Boris Johnson was a journalist at one point, and he got caught for plagiarism and lying in his articles. And so and then he was still elected, right? It is the same as Donald Trump. Remember, Donald Trump used to call all of the tips on himself to the New York Post and be like, "Oh, Donald Trump is going to be such and such, go there." The difference, though, I think, with what we're seeing happen in England versus here is that the people are starting to hold their politicians a little bit more accountable. Not so much Boris himself, but the other ones that would put the pressure on him. And we have a problem where Ted Cruz is feeling no pressure. Lauren Boebert is feeling no pressure.
Oh, I don't know. I think they're going to send him.
They're not feeling pressure enough to act right. And
I think they're sending Boris Johnson over here to run for president.
Well, he can. They know he
can't. Here. He was born in New York, so he can. And I think that would be brilliant. To be honest, I think what he needs to do is come to America and see what happens, just for the fuck of it. Because at this point, American citizens have their heads up something so far that I don't even know what it is anymore. Why not? Let's just really make it go down in flames. Your guy, Trudeau, was so nice with Biden at the G7, Dr. Vibe, but he damn near was like holding his hand and walking him around. And, this whole thing where some people mentioned where, it's he can't be running in the next go round. I'm sorry. He can't. It's just not working, where you could see even they maybe come to his aid and stand in front of cameras and stuff like that.
Okay.
Our country doesn't look very strong at the moment, and I still have not grown to like the new press girl. Sorry. And that has nothing to do with anything other than, I don't know if this man's club that they've got going on there, she needs to really take a media class or stop the Karine, what is her name? I'm not feeling it, guys. I keep saying, yeah, it's not working for me. Am I wrong? Do you guys find that you think she's doing a great job? Let's be honest.
I want to give her a little bit more time.
Okay.
I do too. Honestly, I have to say, coming into like the job that I have now, coming into it, I wasn't as well versed as I would have liked to have been.
Her girlfriend is more well spoken than she is.
Issues, so I know I stumbled over a few things in the beginning until I got my legs.
Her wife is better at, I think. But right now, I just don't think that, I don't get it. And I don't think the diversity hire was the one. And that's what it's coming across as. I don't think she's that qualified.
So
I gotta wonder what her, on this particular topic, I gotta just wonder what her reasons are. Because remember, she came out of the the Obama administration to this one, and she had worked strictly with Obama at that time. So I'm wondering how much is her comfort with Joe Biden.
So some of the family's feedback, the press chick is lacking. She needs to grow a pair, as they say. And Dr. Chachi says, I think she needs more time. So split on what the thing, but it'll be. And
also, I gotta say this. There's no doubt that somebody had the conversation with her behind closed doors, because someone had that conversation with me when I was working in politics and was doing press. You can't come off as an angry Black woman. You can't come off this way and forceful on this. People, they have people who are behind and will do that.
It's not that. She says too many times for a trained professional. That's just what they break you from in media training.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is that
no, she's been in it too long. No, she has been in it too long to be umming and no. That means that there's a lack of connection, or you're about to lie to me. Is not good for a press person.
Jill, you would not want to be with me in a office meeting, and I've asked something. I'm not.
I get it, but I'm saying this is a very different thing than our offices and our corporate. This is a representation of our government. And when they let Jen Psaki go, I'm telling you, I walk away from her and I'm more concerned than I started out. And I don't even watch them anymore. I'll be honest. I have not watched them in about 3 weeks now.
Well, they're not really because as they should either.
But I feel like Black people are defending her because she's Black. And that's the truth. But she's not very good at this point. And they need to be working with her on the weekends.
Laura is saying she has to get her shark teeth out.
Absolutely.
If you show weakness, they will eat you alive.
And they have. That Ducey is all over her. And then they make fun of her. I don't want to see people being made fun of, because I like to make fun of somebody that I know is still kicking your ass, but not when I think they're right. Terrible feeling.
All right, let's move on to the next conversation piece. And this story keeps on growing. WNBA star Brittany Griner pleads guilty to drug charges in Russian court. Let's go to our WNBA expert. What do you have to say?
It's All-Star Weekend. So WNBA All-Star Weekend. She's named a starter for All-Star honorary. But this is no surprise. She's in Russia, people. Okay. If they say you're guilty and you go to them and you plead not guilty, it's not like America. you get lost, you get tortured. You know, that is how it is, period. I've read and I've heard leanings that the plea was intentional so that they could rush through the trial phase, because that the United States can't make any kind of maneuvers. They can't make any suggestions for an exchange unless she's been convicted. So we'll see what's coming out, what comes down the pike there.
Yeah, and I've been reading a little bit about who they're proposing to exchange for her.
Right.
And I'm just going, wow. Like,
who is it? I don't know who it is.
It's a arms
dealer.
Yes, arms dealer.
Then send them all back. I mean, I don't understand. Give them all their people back. This is the craziest thing of all. It could be done in a day. The guy, Travis Reed's father. We have more than Brittany Griner as well. Let's get all of our people home.
Is the other guy, and that's what they're trying to do.
Let's just give them what they want. Who cares? And then blow the fucking country to bits.
But here's the thing: they can't ask for anything until she is definitely convicted in a court. Because
he said that's not true. I saw the father today. He said that's not how this works. They talked about how I guess I encourage everybody to try to listen to this father, because he had a process. He's been working for years to get his son out, who spent 10 years. And he'd been working on this, and he made all these connections. And he said, it could be done in an hour. It could be done by tomorrow. They have to give them what they want. And who cares about us housing and keeping their criminals anymore? Who cares?
But his son was also convicted. That was the other thing that he mentioned, though. His son had also been convicted. So that's, I think, the deal they're trying to.
The deal should be get our people back, and then make them where everybody who comes from Russia has to have a visa to come here, and we can stop all of that.
Well, that's not going to happen. We know that's not going to happen. So
I don't know. Wimbledon did something very interesting that people were very pissed about, but I totally agree with them with Belarus and what they did with Russia. It has to be done. You can't keep letting our athletes and everybody else go. Look what happens to them. You're creating a false sense that we're getting along with everybody if we're going to keep this exchange of letting their people come here and ours go there. It's not like that, because the government plays games. First of all, I said to you on the phone, people in America don't smoke hash. Hash is from Amsterdam. Hash is something you buy in France, in Europe. It is not common for anybody in America to be like smoking hash. It's weed, it's hemp, it's CBD. The craziest part of all is they've got all the semantics to make it sound worse, like it's some fucking Midnight Express movie. Like, oh my God, it's hash. Fuck off. No, it is CBD oil. And anybody here can make the mistake flying into Texas, you'll get arrested. If you have CBD oil in your lotion, you can get arrested. If you have CBD in your vape, you can get arrested. That's not uncommon, but it's not hash. That's a big fucking difference. And to make that girl pledge that she was guilty is so Russian. And so the reason why I feel like banning all of their athletes from everything, because they need to leave their own country and never go back and have nothing to do with it and get their own family members out.
And I think the understanding on the American side
deport the ones, their equivalent of hash is the equivalent of me thinking every woman from Russia is a prostitute. So what should I do? What should I say? Is woman in Russia, when they come to America, mean anchor babies or prostitution? Or are we going to really go down that road because you're going to make it where somebody who shows up with a vape with CBD or hemp oil and you're going to act like they had some major drug? The hell with them. When wait a minute, the trafficking country of the world, Russia, traffics more young people than, they can really go fuck themselves. They need to let her go and stop fronting like they really really are something. Oh, and they need an arms dealer back. Yeah, that's them. That's so Russia.
You know, the part on the American side that's so bizarre is our understanding of what hash is versus CBD versus THC.
Thank
The
you.
stuff that's in marijuana that makes you high is the THC part. So CBD cannabinoids they use for a variety of things. They use it to treat epilepsy. They use it for arthritis. They use
cancer.
Cancer. They use the oil. The oil has healing properties in of itself. They make lotions with it for people with arthritis. It's just, you know, it's our understanding of what it is that I think a lot of a lack of understanding is what I think a lot of people have taken, you know, to complain about. It's like, wait, you don't really understand what this is, and you also don't understand what's going on there. I think who is it? Whelan, his family wants the Biden administration to make a deal with the two of them. Truth be told, I kind of wonder what kind of lawyer she's getting over there, because remember,
can you imagine
a Russian, right? She's getting a Russian lawyer
who would never go against Russia.
That's right. Exactly. So,
but can I just bring up one thing about this whole semantics thing? Because as we see, one thing begets another. The reality is, if it was a real trial and if they were a real country that was really fair with information, but we know it's just a lying state. Everybody has a job, but they're all liars. And everybody who's an oligarch, it's not their money. It belongs to Putin. They all just front and pretend their whole freaking lives. But the biggest question for me is like, we're talking about even in our own country where we're telling women that they're pregnant and they're carrying babies and that's human life. And that woman in Texas got stopped in the commuting lane and she, you know, said, well, you basically, I'm carrying a human life. We're looking at things where one thing begets another. So in that situation, it turns into, well, then I'm going to file that I have a baby. I'm going to write this off on my taxes. So I'm a little tired of conservatives and weirdos and strange grifter countries that take the terminology and the media here, mainstream media, continuing to push this false narrative that it was hashish. It wasn't. There's no way. We have dogs at the airports. We have people in our customs. What, we're going to allow Russia to play us like we're so fucking, we had no idea when you know she left. Really? They have dogs that walk around. If anybody's traveled abroad, even when we leave here, you don't think you can smell that? Give me a break. And they don't check vapes. That's nonsense. This is nonsense. All this is so that Russia can look like Russia's so efficient, but the bitches can't even tell the difference between THC, hemp, CBD oil, and hash. Meanwhile, drug capital, trafficking capital of the world, they've made more money off of people's bodies, alive and dead, than any other country in the whole world, and will continue to milk that. Babies and all. They don't care. Ruthless barbarians.
I mean, and remember, she left out of, was it LaGuardia?
Thank you. I know LaGuardia. The new terminal in LaGuardia too. Yeah,
and when you have to go through customs in LaGuardia to leave the country, they check everything.
You mean we take off our shoes, but they don't see when our vapes go through? So who's clowning who? Russia wants to seriously clown America that our guys couldn't spot the difference? I'm sorry. These people have war machines that are fucking broken down in Ukraine. Their airports look like shit. Their technology, because why? Because Vladimir Putin takes all their fucking money. You know, please, they're just playing us. But more importantly, they've got this poor girl and they're doing it on purpose and they're racist to boot. Racist. I've never met a Russian who wasn't. Low-key
don't even
racist.
Talk about LGBTQ.
Didn't talk about black people behind their backs. I've never. I've worked for people, they think I'm white, and I've worked for a bunch of Russians once, and I could tell you the shit they said. It was crazy. And not only about Black people, about Jewish people, and be dating them, sleeping with people, and literally anti-Semitic. Craziest shit I've ever seen. Oh, but they were models. I'm a model. Yeah, okay. So tell me something. I'm sorry. That's just, freaking Coney Island. But yeah, they got some low-key tendencies because, what Black people or people of color in Russia have you seen in any power positions? Please do tell me. Please find a picture and send me a picture of a Black official or a person of color in Russia who has a real job.
Wow. Okay, let's catch
most
up.
of those jobs are for the government. So
yeah, Laura's saying she is doing what they demand her to do, obviously. Yep. And and she also says it's all a game. We know what's happening to her and it's horrific. Also, she says she's a power example for them, just like the others. She's going to get attention in this moment.
That's the other thing too. Before you go on, that's the other thing too. That I think people need to understand is that she's not just a WNBA star over here. Over there, she's won Russia 8 championships.
And she's LGBTQ. Don't forget that too. Yeah. They can't stand
but she's famous in Russia in a way because of the 8 championships that she's helped the Russian league win.
And let's hope she never has to do that again.
This will be definitely an ongoing story, another one, because it's not the last we've heard about this one. Let's talk about another interesting story: assassination of former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Like, did anyone see this? See the video of this?
Yeah, and you have to wonder. It makes me wonder how this happened. But then when I heard someone who has expertise in government in Japan, it made sense. Like in the United States, we're used to our former presidents having security for at least the first 2 some odd years after they've left the office. Apparently in Japan, they don't have that kind of security after they've left office. And so this made it easy for him while he was out campaigning for people to get close enough to him to assassinate him. And that's something that they're looking at changing.
Looked like he was standing on the side of a road of a highway. What the hell was going on? He didn't have any coverage. One dude, I think. The other ones were distracted. And this guy was it's very funny in the world abroad. We're so used to here people having armed everybody in security, but let's not forget other countries. People don't even exploit their wives and husbands. Merkel had a husband who went to a job every day. America is the only country that has it where these people are like celebrities. So they're still almost reachable because they serve a public of people and not treated completely like, oh my God, they're an untouchable. But this dude went, and I think he made his gun. And they're just taking cues from America, which is why the Europeans and people abroad are going to have to really weigh that about what value it is for them, even with their imports of films and what they start allowing into their country, because people are taking cues that violence is the answer. Some people said he was a fascist, and I don't really know, but I don't think this was good for your country to see assassinations, and that when that's a failure of a society. It's a failure of your society when that's happening with your politicians, whoever they may be.
Definitely not a good look. All right, let's finish off with one of Jill's boys.
You guys can start. Aisha's got this one. You and Aisha, I've said everything I need to say about,
So we knew this was going to
Daddy
happen.
Warbucks.
Basically, Basically, what happened was Elon Musk got clowned about something on Twitter. He got dragged for it. He didn't like how it felt. And so he decides, well, I'll show all those people. I'll buy Twitter. Then I can kick them off and never have people talk bad about me again. It's so Trumpian. It's so egotistical.
Richie Rich, right?
Right. That was only reason that he wanted to do it, until he realized he actually entered into a deal that he couldn't get out of financially, and that he'd be locked into it. So now he says he's walking away from it, but make no mistake, he's walking away from a deal that he's going to end up paying a lot of money on.
A little poorer.
Because Jack, obviously they thought he was serious, because Jack went on and decided he was like, I'm retiring. I'm going to just join the board. And, because he was getting into that cushy position right there where he could just reap the benefits. And now Elon's pulling out, and all these guys are expecting their money.
He played himself. He played himself. That's all you got to say. Elon Musk played himself. Finally. It fucking is hilarious to me. I just thought, wow, this is hilarious. He totally played himself like for the jerk that he is, because his ego just got ahead of him. And we see he messed around, couldn't handle it, and went and had a bunch of twins with some other chick. This dude is out here trying to create a seed of something we don't even know. And what a mess. What a disaster, as Donald Trump would say. What a disaster. The guy's a disaster. He's a wreck. His cars, somebody tweeted at him the other day that your cars are cheap inside. I was just like wow, it's not Elon's day.
Yeah, it was such a petty, his whole move was just like him being petty.
He sold wolf tickets. And then he sold some checks he couldn't cash, honey. Remember, he was like talking about, I'm going to have freedom of speech and bloop-de-bloop-de-bloop. Really? Elon?
Well, I'm gonna bring,
no, this
look,
is
I'm
another.
Gonna bring Donald Trump back.
Elon. Yeah.
Well, he's really backed himself in the corner now, because either he's got to back out and he's going to owe a lot of money to Twitter, or Twitter's going to take him to court to force him to take that deal. Or
yes,
or he'll have to he's gonna probably have to try to renegotiate a deal at a lower price, because the price he asked or he bid is so overinflated. The sad thing is, and the thing is, even if he becomes head of Twitter, from what I've been reading, Twitter employees cannot stand him, management cannot stand him. So he's not in a good situation right now. But I have a feeling he'll find a way of wiggling out.
No, I think what he's going to end up doing is quietly taking a loan, reaching a settlement with Twitter to pay them back something, but he's not going to take over the management of it, no.
He came out, and now to distract, because that's what all these people do, he's going to increase healthcare benefits in his company now, since he's had 10 or 12 or 15 kids. These are just the kids that everybody knows of. I mean, this dude is like, he's got one poor child that emancipated themselves from him basically the other day, right? And changed his name. I mean, that's not, and then two new ones. It's, what a devastating, how gross is that? I mean, it's really sad to see that there's a child in pain that he already had, who's living, that, was that hurt, that's what they did. It's awful.
So let's just catch up on some comments here. Laura said, going back to the Brittany Griner story, says, I just rubbed CBD in my knees. Pata is saying, what are the facts? Did she bring a legal substance into a foreign country or not? We don't know.
Of course she didn't. Any idiot would know it's impossible to do, considering when you leave out of LaGuardia, the new terminal. We have dogs that walk around all day. They would have caught it. So Russia's playing games like they always do.
So
Stop
Laura's saying,
taking the bait. It's bullshit.
Laura's saying with Japan gun violence is almost non-existent. So this was alarming. I agree that the other countries are taking awful cues from the U.S. And then Elon got butt hurt and tried to be the kid who takes the ball home, who doesn't get his way. Boo-hoo.
Yeah, that's. I mean, honestly, the other part of it too is that he realized that there were some community standards that he could not change by law if it's a public company, which Twitter is now. There's no way there's no way he'd be able to run it the way that he opened his mouth and verbal vomited how he would run it.
He's always opening his mouth, and as a Cancerian himself, I'm a Cancerian. I know how that can be. You got to watch it. But he's also a Cancerian man, and they're the absolute worst.
Okay. All right, Jill. Just don't make no blanket statements. All right.
I know some of them are. The ones from South Africa by the name of Elon Musk.
Oh my goodness.
He's pompous and he's arrogant. Let's be honest. This is kind of like, it's terrible that we like to see a man get kicked when he's down, but these are the days that we're in. And
he actually deserves it.
And he played a lot of games and created a lot of problems for people yet again. And, he likes to play both ends against the middle and straddle the fence. And, it didn't work out too well for people during the French Revolution who did that, because we're reaching a time where people want people to be straight, and they're not really going to take it for much longer. I just believe that firmly.
Well, that's another episode of State of Things with Aisha and Jill. Laura's in full laugh mode emoji. Well, we're gonna have you back, Laura. We got to get your relaxation time, because you know that Aisha and Jill are on fire as always.
And it's terrible. I do have some male friends who are Cancerians. I need to, but Elon Musk is just not.
Get a little bit of apology going on.
I'm sorry, that wasn't fair. Oh yeah, that wasn't fair.
All right, no problem. Well, another epic conversation is done. As always, I'd like to say thank you to the ladies for making time. And Jill Jones, how do people get in touch with you?
Right there, Jill D. Jones at Twitter, or Jill Jones Music Instagram.
Wonderful. And Aisha K.
Right there at Aisha Staggers.
I like that. Right there. All right, good stuff. And for myself, if you want to get in touch with me, you do it. Website, the drvibeshow.com. Email dr@the drvibeshow.com. YouTube and Facebook, The Dr. Vibe Show. Twitter, at drvibeshow. And the same thing on Instagram. Well, on Instagram, at the drvibeshow. As always, want to say thank you to everybody who watched us live or catch us on the replay, either video-wise or audio-wise. You can catch State of Things with Aisha and Jill live every Saturday. Most Saturdays. If we're not available live, we definitely have a replay up, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube and Facebook page. Also, you can watch replays of State of Things with Aisha and Jill, the Dr. Vibe Show, YouTube and Facebook, and also on the website, the drvibeshow.com. As always, I like to say this: live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. Let me just put myself on mute. I got a cough. Sorry about that, folks. Yeah, I'm going to go take myself and heal myself up. But as always, I like to say, God bless, peace, well, keep the faith, walk good. Remember to give yourselves grace. And also, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And we will catch you. Make sure, and also subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook and YouTube, so you get updated on the next time we're on and any shorts that we have put up. I'm going to be, in the next week or so, I'm going to be putting clips from different past shows. So if you missed anything, you'll get little clips coming up. So God bless, peace, well, keep the faith, and walk good.